Hey everybody, welcome to more. This is week 3 in our series, Scars on the Soul. We finished that series this past Sunday, and I've got to say that as we've talked on Sundays and then beyond Sundays, that this series certainly has had an impact on so many of us as we have really had the honest conversation about anxiety, depression, and then this past and last Sunday, addiction. I think these have been healthy conversations that maybe the church is long overdue in having. And I hope that when you've spent time here on More, whether that's as an individual or a group, those conversations have been as healthy as well. That you've been able to have a conversation in community, or maybe as you've just had some quiet time, to consider either those issues as they've manifested themselves in your life or in the lives of people that you love. And so as we finish up this series and we talked about addiction on Sunday, I know that was a tough conversation for a lot of people, whether that's because of addiction that you've struggled with or have struggled with in the past, or if that's an addiction that you've watched in someone else's life, someone you've loved and cared for as they have struggled with that addiction in their life. And so today I just wanted to take a few minutes in our time together here to kind of wrap up that thought. You know, the Bible is clear on how we as Christians are to live our life, how our lives should look as followers of Jesus, as we reflect Jesus to the world. And I think that in a succinct way, the easiest way to talk about that is the counsel the Bible gives us is that as Christians, we should live a life of moderation and we should be wise. We talked about that in the text from Sunday when we were looking in the book of 1 Corinthians at the idea of everything is permissible, but nothing should master us. The question of not can I, but should I? And I think when addictions take root in our life and begin to grow, it is because we have failed to think about moderation and we have failed to be wise. And when addictions begin to overtake our life and control us, we find ourselves on a path that is destructive and usually a very unhealthy path. Whether we've turned to sexual sins or substance abuse or gambling or other unhealthy activities, and whatever the reason may be that we found ourselves pursuing those things, whether it's because we were dealing with some sort of a hardship or trauma, or whether it was some sort of an antidote that we were looking for extreme loneliness in our life or some other void that we are feeling, we found that once we were in that addictive stronghold, that we really were enslaved to it. And then instead of finding the antidote or finding the relief that we were looking for, what we found ourselves is filled with an emptiness, shame and guilt and brokenness, and the loneliness that maybe we were trying to overcome instead engulfs our life. Life then in that addiction becomes this unending cycle of trying to overcome the pain, trying to regain power where we felt so powerless and unable to figure out how to overcome these unhealthy patterns that have existed in our life. And I think that's the exact place that God is ready to step in. We may believe in our hearts that the addiction that we're facing or that someone we love is facing makes us unworthy in God's eyes, but that is absolutely not true. Jesus said this in Matthew chapter 11, verse 28, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." The weight of addiction is not easy. The weight of addiction is something that is so consuming at times and so overwhelming to us that we think we'll never be free. And yet Jesus says that whatever is burdensome to us, whatever is beating us down and causing us these difficult days, we can come to him with that and lay that burden down. And his promise in that verse is that he will give us rest. That because of his gentleness, because of his love, because of the things that he has for us, we'll find rest for our souls. And I know that walking through the terrible, terrible world of addiction, in the life of someone that I love, that finding rest sometimes seems impossible. And that's why pointing people to Jesus is so important. That's why finding hope in Jesus is so imperative. That if we're ever going to break the cycle of addiction or addictions in our life, it is only when we come to Jesus that we can find that. You see, it's not just coming to Jesus and saying, here it is, but it's coming to Jesus and laying down the burden and giving him our life. That relationship with Jesus is where the starting point of help and hope starts with and comes from. He knows what it means to be tempted. We talked about that on Sunday. We talk about how that temptation so oftentimes comes in from 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. No temptation has overcome or seized you except what is common to man. And in the heart of that verse, we found these words, and God is faithful. He won't let you be tempted beyond what you bear, but when you are tempted, he will always provide a way out so that you can stand up underneath it. I find the strength in all of that to be so important for anyone who is struggling with addiction, for anyone who is helping someone struggle with addiction. We are aware that God can use these broken times to bring us to a deeper faith and a more confident hope in him. Most of us probably will need assistance along the line if we're struggling with addiction, and those resources are available to us. We talked about them at our locations on Sunday. And if you're still needing that help, reach out to your small group leader or to your location pastor and say, where can I begin the journey back to a life that is not enslaved to addiction, that is in fact a life filled with hope and confidence? It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to receive help. And it's okay to know that you can be well again. I've loved this series. I've loved having this time with us and more. This next Sunday will be a location pastor Sunday, but we will gather back here for more and some time in God's Word for you as an individual or a group. And then we will be starting a brand new series the week after that I know is going to be impactful and life-changing for all of us. Can't wait to be with you again. Hope you have a great week. God bless.